Divine souls, welcome. I hope are having a beautiful day. It is such a pleasure to be here. We are continuing our integration of life and death. And let me just quickly set this up. I'm going to share the live. If you are here on the live with me and you would like to share it, please do share. Today is day 13 of 30. We are integrating death and rebirth. And we are discussing today deeper about healing ancestral trauma and what that looks like. Let me just quickly share this. Oh. And if you feel that you want to share it too, please go ahead. Good morning, Marilena. So wonderful to see you. Welcome. Let me go ahead and share this really quickly. Close some of these extra windows and let me open up my presentation. All right. So let's quickly take a look. Bear with me here. Open up my presentation. And what I would love to do is I want to discuss, let's see, what is this? I'm trying to find actually an older presentation that I talked about some basics of the multidimensional body. And I think it's going to be really important that we look at that because I want to be able to share with you a deeper understanding of our multidimensional body and what I mean by the fact that we are passing down generations of trauma. Okay, yeah, this works. Okay, all right, so we're gonna flip through a couple of presentations then. Okay, so what are we talking about? If you have any questions, please put the questions in capital letters. I'll be really happy to answer them. Okay, so in this series, let's refocus and remember exactly what is our goal in this conversation, in this series of 30 days in which we are integrating death and rebirth. Essentially, the reason why we are taking a look at this is because the cycles of life and death are extremely important in understanding how we are evolving, the purpose of our life here on this planet, and essentially the role that we play in the bigger picture. Okay, the existence, the incarnation process of the soul into the physical body, and how we navigate the physical realm, essentially. So, what we are trying to understand more than ever now is a profound understanding of the mechanics of this and the role that we play and the laws of the universe and how they play a role in our unfoldment in this human experience. And essentially, the cycles of life and death are actually one of the hardest things to be able to integrate and transcend because we tend to suppress our feelings, our fear of the unknown throughout our entire life, which completely affects our ability to come into our full expression, to heal the body, to integrate, and to be able to embody and accept unity consciousness, okay? Because all of our experiences in the rejection of death, in the rejection of separation, in the fear of annihilation, is actually going in the opposite direction of separation, okay? But as we dive deep into those emotions, into those very difficult states in which we feel that we are becoming annihilated, or the ego fears annihilation, the identities fear annihilation, our habits, our things that we hold on to as a part of ourselves feel threatened by these shifts and changes. This is where the body goes into panic mode and begins to externalize. And it is at this very important point in which you are faced with the choice of either going deep into that shadow part of you or running away from that shadow that you really choose your destiny. And the point of this entire 30-day challenge is to understand you're not only choosing your destiny, but you are choosing lineages, okay, you are literally choosing collective timelines, and you are literally choosing for all of the ancestors that have come before you and from your descendants that are going to be coming ahead of you. Okay, and so when we talk about clearing and working with these ancestral lines, we need to understand there's a very strong element in which we are choosing co-creation. And I talked a lot about being in a state of co-creation or being in a state of destruction, okay, counter-creation, or in other words, in which we become a parasite. This is the difference between the physical body working in a centrifugal state of spinning inwardly or centripetal or centrifugal state. Okay, centrifugal being the depletion and centripetal being the recollection, the integration, the implosion point in which your life force then generates into a conduit of life force, a reconnection to the source through your organism bioelectrically, biochemically, in which your body then becomes a system of manifestation and co-creation. So these are things that have to be cultivated, mind, body, and soul. And as a result of that co-creation, essentially is the activation of your DNA. Now, when I talk about the activation of your DNA being a product of this co-creation, manifestation, and changes, we're not just talking about the illusion, oh, we think DNA is becoming activated. Literally, DNA begins to uncoil. Okay, so what happens when the body experiences severe trauma, severe stress? DNA contracts and coils into a knot, literally. Okay, and the body, the entire system, the blood flow in the body, the energy flow in the body, the way that oxygen is moving and traveling through the body, the way that healing energy can move through the body, the way that your presence and your awareness is accessed through every part of your body becomes severed, disconnected, and contracted. Okay, so trauma and survival states is affecting many of these systems, both etheric and biological in the body. But the most impressive is that when we begin to notice the DNA of people that are in constant states of survival, constant states of illness and sickness, and it becomes a deterioration of the DNA, deterioration of the organism, actually the DNA literally looks like it's torn up and coiled up into a ball. And it cannot express. DNA cannot be expressed. Now remember that DNA is your blueprint. It is the code of your entire essence, and not only the physical aspect, that's only 2% of your DNA, but the multidimensional aspect of your body is being contracted. So that means that you're interfering in your intuitive faculties. You are blocking out the upper dantian, the mechanics and the tools for manifestation for you to master this physical realm are becoming stagnant, interfered with, contracted. Okay, and remember that for DNA to come into its full expression, we have to sustain within the body the ability to flow, open the vessels, the vascular system, regulate the nervous system, let the contractive muscles come into a state of expansion, all of which allow the body to become a system of regeneration, of cleansing, and of the ability to move life force through the body freely and creatively. Okay, so this is extremely important because the opposite of that is actually the contraction, okay, the stagnation. We literally cannot move life force through this body when we are holding on to this stagnation, okay? So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen now. We're going to jump into the presentation so we can take a look at, what does this actually look like in the physical body? How does it present itself? What's the manifestation of this? And how do we work with it? Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. It's such an honor to have you guys here. Okay, so today's topic is working with ancestral trauma. How do we how is it? And I'm going to try something new today. So bear with me because this is going to be a test. It's something I learned today. I'm hoping that you can see my screen. That way you don't have to see all of the crazy background that I usually share with you. Um, there you go. Okay. So let's start talking a little bit about how, first of all, when we talk about ancestral trauma, the contraction of this DNA. So let's talk again about DNA, okay? Um, literally, the core of life force is beaming in your body at the cellular level. Every cell in your body is beaming with life force, and literally, they produce energy. And the cells intercommunicate with one another through quantum non-locality, and it creates a bioelectrical system of intercommunication in the body. And so basically, every cell is aware of one another. It's communicating, it's intercommunicating with one another. And I know some of you want to see actual proof of this information. Everything that I'm telling you is a product of peer-reviewed experiments and research that have been done, and you will find the research links where you can go ahead and access all of the in-depth scientific papers where all this stuff is being talked about. Okay, so what we're talking about here is not just random metaphysical concepts, but it is the combination of it is the combination of science and the spiritual awareness of our multidimensionality that allows us to understand how profoundly complex we are. Okay, and it's important for us to understand how this functions. Sorry, guys. Because the more you understand your body, the more you, so all of this understanding that I'm sharing with you is something that came as a result of meditation and reconnecting with my body first. Okay, then going to do the research and fact checking and becoming aware of how do these processes work, how are they experienced through the body. Okay, so how does this information then affect when we talk about what we are holding in our DNA, and what are we healing when it comes to ancestral trauma? Well, whatever is passed down through the generations, remember that all of this information is being passed down generation to generation, and the womb really functions like a portal. It's a portal of life that links this infinite potential into the physical. Okay, this is why the female, the woman, has been seen for centuries as the seers. They are the ones that are the most spiritual beings that actually connect with the other realms because of their level of sensitivity and their connection to the etheric realm through their bodies. Now, every single human, both men and women, are having these abilities. This is not something about just specific to the female. However, the organism of the female body, in that it holds a womb that can develop life in it, is a very powerful mechanism that can only be matched in universal cosmic movements. The amount of power, the atomic power that literally goes into the creation, into the mitosis process of cells as they begin to divide into the organism of a zygote, is essentially a fractal of the universe and how it expands itself in the creation of iron, which is the reason why our blood is red, and in the process of that life force, as we talked about Leinakea, the universe, how the runways of energy of life force in the universe are very similar to how we run energy through our own bodies, through our lungs, through the blood vessels of our body, the nervous system. Okay, so again, our body is a fractal of all of these systems. And the more that we understand that, the more we can understand that we are innately infinite potential, that we are source, that we are literally source. Okay, so let's take a look at this now. The mastery of our life force, then, learning to master the life force, will define how we inherit information. Now, why do we talk about ancestral healing when we're talking about death? The reason is because at the time of death, we literally have the opportunity to review our entire life experience, and choose how we are exiting this plane. When the body begins to spin at a really high rate through this Merkaba, this beautiful geometry that the body organically creates within itself, we actually can begin to enter and through the vibrational resonance choose a higher octave in which we navigate to. And after working with hundreds of people that are reliving these past life experiences, this is something that has been demonstrated over and over again, that at the time of death, when we're leaving the body, and also near death experiences, myself and others, that at the time that we're leaving the physical body, there is an in-between state in which there is a level of awareness that you are leaving the body, and there is a moment of choice. There is a moment of choice that is experienced. Um, it's the experience of choosing, by the human. And what we're discovering by that is that actually the same laws that apply, uh, to this physical realm in the navigation of choosing timelines, manifesting and shifting, also applies to these in-between states, the moment of death. Okay, so for example, techniques that I teach on this channel, such as breaking energy contracts, contractual karmic agreements. So those are words that we have defined them as, but in reality, these are emotional charges, emotional exchanges that create resonance between ourselves and another, and we are sharing, and we are together co-creating those kinds of agreements through our emotional awareness and our choices. And those agreements are what create cause and effect scenarios, that our choices in those scenarios are causing an effect in our lives, in the lives of others. So that interaction and that interconnected information that links us to everyone around us, these are the memories that are stored within our genetic data. And when humans are experiencing severe trauma, severe collective trauma, these are traits that gently shift and change the next generation, into reacting and responding in programmable ways. Okay, so we want to understand how much of this do we have a choice? How much of this is our choice, and what role do we play in contributing to certain ancestral and collective traumas being passed down through generations? And how much of this is part of our free will? Okay, because at the time of death, if we begin to recognize, and this happens to most people that are at the time of death, is that they begin to realize, they have a clearer understanding of their purpose on earth, or at least the temporary illusion of separation of the human condition begins to lift, in which they begin to realize how everything is unified. And all of a sudden, these petty ideas of separation and judgment no longer really fit in the way that you look back at life and at yourself. And that awakening of consciousness is it's a shocking moment for the human, because they begin to realize sometimes, that they've existed in suffering all their lives, and it was pretty much their choice. So these are things that, at the time of death, are extremely important. And if we don't know how to change these programs in the time of death by raising the vibrational frequency to the highest point when we are leaving the body, a lot of times people get stuck in between realms. Okay, and this is where ghosts come from, disincarnates, disembodied souls are trapped in between dimensions because they haven't had the ability to process this emotional data. They haven't had the ability to become aware of their attachments, their entanglements to people, places, and things in this physical realm, in order to understand that this is all about vibrational frequency. And that when the human raises the vibrational frequency to the highest state, they literally go into a certain state of implosion in which they can navigate and leave the body. Okay, they leave the body. It creates an implosion, kind of like a propulsion that allows them to enter into a higher octave of vibrational frequency. Okay, so this is really important because um, the spin that we're creating in our bodies, our ability to spin, our vortex, our Merkaba, is essentially the key to embodying higher vibrational states, navigation of higher dimensions, and activation of your DNA. So I started off talking about how DNA becomes severely affected by trauma, by traumatic states, by limiting belief systems, by contraction of our life force. And this literally is affecting the genetic pool, okay? And when this information is passed down the generations, it is affecting and lowering the collective vibrational frequency of your entire ancestral lineage. Okay, so every human has a vibrational signature, and the vibrational signature that the human has is a collection of their unique vibrational frequency as the soul, as infinite potential. But it's also a collection of all of the choices that ancestors have done to create vibrational input in creating one signature for the ancestral lineage. And therefore, in our current timeline, the choices that we make in this timeline will affect the vibrational frequency of the collective. Now, there's another element that we have to understand that is really beautiful about these dimensions, and about the states in which we're navigating. Because of the nature of this universe, because of how we are experiencing, how this universe expresses itself, time is not linear, number one. Okay, time is not linear. Number two, number one, it's not linear, it is simultaneous. So in fact, all of our ancestors, we have this idea that they're only in the past, okay? And when we talk about great great grandmother or great great grandfather, um, we're actually talking about fractals of themselves literally existing and expressing through our genetic information through us, okay? And it's because we are interconnected with the genetic data, because DNA functions like a portal, okay? And so let's talk about the basics of portal mechanics. The spiral, the coiling of information is the trajectory of life force that moves in a toroidal form. Okay, so that coiling and that spiraling eventually expresses out into a toroidal form. And every single one of these toroidal points is oscillating at a certain octave of vibrational frequency. Okay, and we hold all of these different layers of ourselves are inside of our body, but we also exist inside a greater organism. Remember that you function like a cell of this planet Earth. Okay, so on Earth, we have all the humans that participate on this planet Earth, and they create the cells in harmonic resonance to create the planet Earth. Okay, other planets also have their resonance or vibrational frequency. And as you know, and as I have discussed yesterday, we hold fractals of the solar system and the universe encoded in our body. Okay, so every single chakra, which is an energy center, which is again another one of these portals, it literally is one of these portals in our body. This being a chakra, literally it looks like this, the toroidal system of the body. But within this toroidal system is many micro toroidal systems, which are vortices, and it's what we know as chakras, and they also known in the Hindu religion as nadis. Okay, and so these energy centers in the body, depending on how we are processing life force and how we allow the coiling and the flow in this toroidal movement in the body, the human will either be in a state of health or illness, or they will activate more ancestral memory, or they will deactivate ancestral memory. Okay, so this coiling function is also the way that this universe is operating, which means that we are always moving in a point of ascension. We are always moving towards a higher octave. No organism in this universe goes back to an older point of energy. Energy can only transform, okay? And the way that it moves in this system, the greater picture of that is this oscillation into higher octaves every time. Now, right now we are moving from 13th into the 21st model, 21st dimensional model of the universe, meaning simply that within this dimensional plane, our organic vessel has activity, conscious activity, access to conscious activity within the 21 dimensions, 21, 24 dimensions of our body. Okay. And so the reason for that is because we are navigating, because we are collectively activating more DNA. We are remembering more about our past lives. We're activating future lives. We're connecting with interdimensionals. And this is the era of interdimensionality. The new human coming into these next 10 years is the human that is cultivated and mastered in their multidimensionality. Now, there are some key elements that are necessary to cultivate our higher faculties. And as a human, psychologically, one of those things is an integrity to our soul core essence. Okay, so what does that mean? This soul, the infinite potential that incarnated in your body, has a purpose based on their level of consciousness. Okay, remember creator states. So as long as the human wakes up consciousness and has the ability to open up its awareness and begin to navigate in a state of absolute grounded presence, there is an element of integration that occurs in the body. Okay, the more we incorporate and be absolutely embodied in this physical body, the more we begin to be aware and mindful of what we're doing with these important runways of life force through the body. Whether it's our source cord through the body by opening the blockages, the emotional blockages and stagnation that exist within the morphogenetic field of our body. And essentially, what that looks like is that emotional blockages basically create these huge blockages that don't allow us to move this toroidal movement. Okay? And these blockages that you see in blue are essentially, those are thought forms. Okay, thought forms. Thought forms that are stuck in the body, thought forms that are not processed, thought forms. This is extremely important. Other forms of thought forms manifest and crystallize, in a sense, crystallize into a more slower moving density. Okay. So it turns into the most densest state of stagnation to the point of the death of the oscillation. And when something reaches a death of an oscillation, it's no longer moving, it's no longer co-creating. It is essentially dying. So the body that is covered in these blockages and thought forms that have not been processed is essentially on the road to death. These can be manifested as depression, it can be manifested as emotional blockages, which then turn into physical aches and pains and illnesses, or, essentially they cannot manifest, they're blocked, okay? So the human that is existing in this constant state of suffering is in a severe state of separation. The more thought forms that we hold within the field for the longest amount of time, the more we believe we are separate and the more we disconnect from the source. Okay, the more unconscious we are, the less mastery we have over the physical body. That means we don't have healing abilities, we don't have intuitive faculties, we don't have all of the super abilities that the human has in its higher faculties. And as I mentioned in this series so far, these faculties and the cultivation of our higher faculties are absolutely imperative for the survival. I mean survival in a sense, the survival of your highest ability of navigation over the next 10 years. Okay. And that's a really huge thing, because if you are in a constant state of struggle, suffering, and separation, you are lost in the illusion that you are alone, that you are unworthy, and these these belief systems as a result of trauma, which is the illusion of separation in your everyday lifespan, are passed down through generations, okay? Literally, it affects the physical body in such a powerful way that what we are passing down through the generations is this continued information, generation through generation. Oh my gosh, Alex, thank you so much for that very generous super chat. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. That's so lovely. Very generous of you. So to look at this, just take a look at how we actually incarnate into the physical body. Okay, this is what happens. Okay, infinite potential, source, pure consciousness, as it comes into the physical body, is self-organized beautifully, beautifully by vibrational frequency in the body. Just look at this body in the center with the energy centers, the rainbow color energy centers, from red all the way up to the indigo color. Okay? So what happens with that is that this infinite potential that's self-organized, what is it self-organizing? Well, encoded within every single one of those chakras is a photograph of the time that you came into conception. Okay, so we're talking about universal astrology, and I will give a reference to a fantastic, I'm actually taking this incredible course on archetypal astrology that I highly recommend that you all take a look at, as a result of Dr. Tarnas. I just ordered this book. It's called Prometheus the Awakener. Okay, so check it out. It's a fantastic book, and I'm so excited. Can't wait to read this. But he's talking about the archetypes of the universe astrologically. And the reason why I'm interested in that is because this is what I'm uncovering through meditation by looking at archetypal programming within my own self, and looking at the archetypal programming within the generations of my ancestral lineage. There are very prominent cycles of archetypes that run down my family line, which played a role in the ancestral trauma that's passed down through generations. And we are cycling through archetypes through all of our ancestral lineage. There are predominant archetypes that present themselves through your family lineage. And those are micro archetypes that you cycle through in your lifetime. This is really important to understand. Okay? And you will discover this in your healing as you are DNA deprogramming, either with my method or with your own methods. But as you begin to observe the programs that are passed down through generations, they literally they program your auric field. Okay, so let's go deeper into this. So you're incarnating and gestating into the body. What happens? You attach to the DNA of your ancestral lineage through your biological mother and father. However, it doesn't stop there. Whoever is your parental figure, and some of you have been in the foster system, or you've had many parental figures growing up, or maybe no parental figures growing up. After you were born, you went through adoption. Every single human that participates in the rearing of you and your development from the womb until the age of 15. Okay, the age of 7 is your primal, programming, But to the age of 15 is when you're entering into puberty, and that's another layer of programming, which is extremely important. And it's your primordial life force programs are developed from the age of 7 to the age of 15. How you're going to use your creative life force, and genetically how you're holding on to that life force through your ancestral history, whether it's in a constant state of depletion or contraction. Okay, so what happens is that this information that we hold within our DNA begins to express itself between the age of 7 to 15. And the body, the auric body, here's another thing, archetypes have different geometric shapes organically. So the kind of archetype that you most have predominant in your ancestral lineage will affect the size of your aura as you develop as a child. If you have a lot of sexual trauma in your ancestral lineage, chances are you experienced sexual trauma as a child. Okay? And it affects the root and sacral chakra. And what does the root and sacral chakra look like? For example, in a child that has, sexual trauma, their sacral chakra will be completely broken apart, torn up. Okay, so let me show you. So this is what a chakra looks like. Okay, so it completely is beautiful expression, and this is fully at its full expression. The chakra looks like this. Okay, it's a toroidal field in your body. So this is one chakra. You are at the center of this entire body. Okay, so the chakras are not just little tiny vortices in your body. They make up entire filters of your entire body. And this is important for you to know, because when you have openings, cracks, and tears in your aura field, you are contracting life force, which then results in pains, aches, illnesses in the body, and psychological side effects, emotional, psychological side effects. Okay, so what happens is that our frequency is formed and also passed down. So not only are we passing down these genetic traits, illnesses, the way that DNA is braiding is also passed down through the generations. If we have a lot of trauma in our ancestral lineage, the way that DNA is expressing itself is not going to be at its full expression. And this is where people have problems. Okay, hold on, let me see if I can find that. Let me show you a picture of what that looks like. Different strand. And so we talked about this in other presentations, but the more harmonious the organism comes into, the more harmonious the expression of DNA is also. See how it expresses as a geometry? Okay, this is not random. Encoded within the geometry of your DNA is talking about your origin, your starseed origin, the ancestral lineages that you hold within you, and your connections to your most closest star systems, past and future lives. Because in this universe, the language of vibrational frequency comes out in numbers, it comes out in geometry, okay? And vibrational frequency, which create these geometric shapes. So vibrational frequency creates geometric shapes, okay? And those geometric shapes have numerical, mathematical, how would you say it, measuring, or calculations, I guess you can say, as a result. We translate the geometry into numerical sequences because they are patterns of information. That equals your vibrational frequency. And so your vibrational signature is whatever your DNA, the geometry that your DNA is holding, will define the vibrational signature that you're holding in your body. So the more contracted, the more distorted and disconnected is our ability to access. Okay, now we understand epigenetically that our environment plays a role in our DNA, the development of our DNA, the writing of the protein of our DNA. And it's important to understand that. But the element that has to be understood is that DNA is also multidimensional. Not only are you recording the information that is protein writing, but you're also storing vibrational patterns of information that you're processing through your organism. Okay, so for example, if you're in a war and you are in constant states of survival, this constant straining of your nervous system, blocking of the vagus nerves into a regulated nervous system, the muscles are contracted, illness, problems in your abdomen, digestive system problems, sexual problems in the body, all of that is deeply recorded in the physical body, and it has its biological side effect. It has its somatic origin, has a biological side effect in the body, and it severely affects the full expression of DNA, because the more in harmony the human becomes, the more regulated the nervous system, the more regulated the nervous system, the more DNA can express its full expression. And that means a stronger immune system, and it also means a stronger emotional body, a stronger emotional memory. And memory is the key to ascension. Because if you don't remember who you are beyond this physical body, you are limiting yourself to a very myopic view and always existing in separation. So the activation of your DNA in order to remember who you are beyond this physical realm is extremely important, which is why it's important to become lucid in your dream state, which is why it's important to remember and do hypnosis so you can recover these memories. You either hypnotize yourself, or you find a hypnotherapist to work with, or you do it in meditation, which is how I did it. Literally in meditation, you can access a hypnagogic state, but it's not about the state. It's about the cultivation of gray matter in your brain in order for you to begin to become more of a transduction system of higher vibrational frequencies in the body. And those higher vibrational frequencies allow you to access higher bands of information which exist in your field. It's all inside of your field. You're not connecting to anything external to you. This is encoded in your DNA. It's all part of who you are. So we have to activate DNA, which means you're waking up consciousness and remembering who you are. Now remember, each one of the chakras function like vortices, but they are also made up of micro vortices. Okay? And this is where things get very interesting. People talk about DNA being a portal. How is it a portal? DNA is a portal because each one of these coils is also self-organized. So this is what your chakra looks like. That is basically at the center of, where is that? That is at the center. This is, okay, so basically this is what is being expressed here. So if all these little lines, and in between those little lines, it's all the entire network of information. Your entire field is coils. How do we know this? As a psychic working with people intuitively, looking at their multidimensional bodies, one thing I have noticed is that when the chakra is severely distorted and harmed and damaged as a result of trauma, as a result of trauma, which becomes blockages in the multidimensional body. What happens when there's a block in the multidimensional body? Okay, what happens when there is a block here? Let's say this is a thought form of unworthiness in the body, let's say in the heart chakra. When you come over here, okay, now we're zooming and we're looking at the front of the chakra, this entire coiling becomes contracted. Okay, so here the blockage is not just an isolated item external to the body. It is inside of the field of the chakra system. It's inside the toroidal field. And there are little threads and cords to these thought forms. Why? Because they work like neural networks. You guys want to know what cords are? Okay, so A thought form, just like a neural network, has a bunch of little tiny cords to it. Okay, it doesn't look like this. It can look like anything that feels real to you. But what these thought forms look like is they look like neural pathways. And when they function just like neural pathways. When they're fired together, they wire together. Okay, the same thing happens to these thought forms, which are blockages in your multidimensional body. And these thought forms um, interfere in the flow of life force in your chakra body. Okay, so as you can see, this entire blockage that happened here, all of these little threads and coils of your chakra body. Okay, so imagine that this is looking at the chakra from the front. They become blocked and contracted. They shrink down all the way down here. Okay, and so when I look at the body, let's see, when I'm working with the person and I begin to look at it, they have a big hole right over here, a big hole in this part of their body, in this chakra body. Let's say this is the heart layer of their body, their entire, and guess what? Not only that, but remember that the front and the back of the body, so remember, this is the body, the left is the feminine, the right is the masculine. So in this example, it's over here on the right side of the body. Okay, so this is a chakra center. It's over here on the left side of the body. Sorry, the right side of the body. Sorry, guys. Okay, so this is basically what it looks like. And essentially the cord goes all the way into the body here. Okay, now what happens here? It creates a dysregulation in the nervous system. So first of all, remember the vagus nerve comes down going into all of these nervous systems here. So you begin to have a blockage in your nervous system. This individual, based on the thought form in the heart center, usually unworthiness or overwhelm based on the amount of responsibility they have, where do they start having complications? In the shoulder, right here in the shoulder. Okay, let's do a different color. Okay, so the blockage that they have there within the shoulder here, it starts to develop a pain, something like cold shoulder, for example. Okay, feeling unloved, feeling unsupported, feeling that they are unworthy in some way. Okay, and it is located in the right side of the body, which represents the masculine. So what happens is that the polarities within the human become out of balance. How does that translate? Their perception becomes skewed. Okay, and I wonder if I have that here. Their perception about the feminine and masculine, the way that they see the world, becomes skewed. Okay, so these are the thought forms that are created by external triggers that trigger an emotional response in the body. And when we are in an unconscious state, how many of these do you think you store within your body throughout your day? Think about that. How many times do you start to feel stress, anxiety, anguish? Okay. How can your toroidal field move in your body when you have so much stagnation, tears in your body? So the chakra becomes damaged. Okay. Now remember, what is a chakra? A chakra is a vortex, and within the vortex are these little micro vortices. These vortices are organized here by vibrational frequency. How do we know that? Remember that each chakra also has polarities. Okay, they have the highest expression of the chakra, but they also have the lowest expression of the chakra. And bear with me, let me open up my presentation here to get you guys the chart on. Hold on a second, guys. Okay. How do we know that? Because each one of these chakras has its own polarity. Okay, it has a feminine and a masculine, it has a positive and negative traits to it. When the chakra is damaged because of a stagnant thought form and belief system, it contracts. And depending on what side of your body is holding that memory, if it's the masculine or feminine side of your body, it's going to affect the polarity that you hold within that energy center, because that energy center is a generator of vibrational frequency. Now, in this example, the gentleman was affected through the heart chakra with programs of unworthiness and being overwhelmed with too much responsibility, causing aches and pains in the right shoulder, which is the right side of the body. Okay, so what happens, the negative side of that, how does this chakra come out of balance? Now, when that chakra is working in harmony, it's completely healthy, vibrant, and moving, it's going to access the highest octave of its two polarities. And that looks like balance, it looks like love, it looks like connection, it looks like self-esteem, the ability to forgive, okay? The ability to see love for the self and others. It's able to have emotional balance within it. It has healthy heart, healthy lungs. So people that smoke, for example, have a lot of heart trauma. Okay, and this is passed down through generations. The lungs are contracted. What happens when you smoke? Your blood pressure gets affected. The vessels, the blood vessels in the body become contracted. You are not operating, allowing life force to move through the body. And look at the direct result of that. Trust. Trust. Trust emerges. Okay? You have the ability to cope with high stress situation, balance, flexibility, the ability to grow, to see growth. On the spiritual level, it's a level of freedom, free thinking, unconventional expansion, new ideas. Let's go to creator states. Okay? When the heart is in harmony, okay, let's also look at brainwave states. Let's connect to brainwave states. When we access the heart at its highest octave frequency, we are coming into a state of connection, of alertness, of concentration. That's why we can come into harmony and balance. Okay, so this is what happens to the physical body as it begins to lose its connection to itself. And these are passed down through generations. Okay, so the contraction of the chakra system, the damaging of the chakra through your blockage of your thought forms is what is encoded in your DNA epigenetically. It's stored both in the protein writing DNA, which can be measured through our modern biology and passed down through the mitochondria. So let's take a look at this. Hold on. Okay, it's passed down through the generations. How does this information get passed down? Okay, it's passed down through the generations. And within the nuclear DNA is inherited from all ancestors. From the mitochondria DNA, it's inherited from a single lineage. Okay, so you hold within you this, and the mitochondria is like it's like an aggregate copy of the before. Okay, so this is why when we're healing, when we're breaking patterns, we are dealing with all of these different centers. And this is why pranic healing can really work for healing some of these ancestral programs. There are two ways to heal, and I've mentioned this many times, but I've never really went into the details of why these two things work. Two ways to heal is by removing this blockage from the body etherically. So you, literally you, right here watching this, you don't need to be a psychic necessarily. All you need to know is to be able to feel the pain in your body and practice describing the pain as an emotion. Okay, that will access one level of healing within your body. The fact that you acknowledge the emotion, because remember, this thought form is a contracted thought form. It's stagnant, it's not moving. And when we are in survival, we are missing in our filing cabinet, in the state of trauma, in our filing cabinet, we don't know how to handle this experience. We've never experienced someone punching us in the face when we were a kid, okay? We never experienced that. And so we don't know where to draw from in order to respond. We freeze, we run away, or, fight, flight, or freeze, right? So, or we become completely aggressive and we fight back, right? So these different ways of reacting are primal to us, right? We have instinctive reactions, but above those instinctive reactions, underneath those instinctive reactions, are programs that we hold within our genetic data, which are expressed as these triggers come up in our lives. And so when one of these triggers happen, this becomes this blockage here that you see, it becomes a point of reference. And the longer you avoid, so let's say you don't acknowledge the emotion that you felt in that moment, the longer you avoid this information in your multidimensional body, in your state of awareness, the more the vibrational frequency of that memory begins to slow down more and more. Okay? So what happens when it slows down? Let's take a look at that. All life force is moving in this toroidal system of life force and energy. The slower the wave, okay, the heavier it becomes, the more depleting it is in the body. Let me see if I can find frequency waves here for you. Yeah, okay. The slower the frequency of the blockage and the emotion, the lower it is, the stronger the impact of the emotion, and the more you are unable to process that emotion, the more you resist and reject. That creates a disassociation between your soul and the physical body, because the vibrational frequency of your emotions in that body cannot match the embodiment of the soul. And usually what happens is that the human doesn't want to be in their body. They want to be outside of their body because it's too much. They don't know how to handle that emotion. So the slower that wave it gets, the longer it's there, the slower it gets. Here's another thing that happens. That when this thought form is in the body for a really, really, really long time, the further in its physical body that it gets, in your field that it gets, okay, the further it gets. And so that's why the more deep rooted into the subconscious mind it becomes. And remember that the blockage has little cords and threads. The longer it is reinforced, it works just like a neural pathway. The more it's reinforced. So let's say we experience again someone punching us in the face again, later on, and again we don't know how to respond to that. Okay, so we are firing together the program that we don't know how to respond to this scenario over and over again because we haven't taken a moment to review and think and process this emotion. Okay, and there are two processes, the etheric process and then the mental, psychological process that needs to take place. This is important for you that have children. How to avoid trauma in children, how to work with children and help them process traumatic experiences as they grow up, is to be able to teach them how to sit with their emotions and to be able to sit in that stillness, to observe the emotions so that they understand the underlying emotions. Now remember, we talked about this many times, but emotions have primary, secondary, and tertiary levels in their emotional trajectory. Okay. And you know what? I actually made a slide with that, but I'm not able to find it right now because I think it disappeared. Sorry about that, guys. But I've explained this in other presentations. Primary, secondary, and tertiary emotions are essentially one emotion that has many underlayers, and all emotions function like this. Okay, let me explain that to you. In this example here, let's go back to the other example that we had of the gentleman that felt unworthy because of having so much responsibility put on them that they couldn't handle things, okay, in life. And so the primary emotion of this individual is going to be feelings of frustration, helplessness, and then it's going to be something like anger, overwhelm, and then it's going to be trickled down into fear, okay, loneliness, and then it's going to root down in unworthiness. Okay, so see how that emotion just developed, it just expanded itself into all of these layers. Each one of those emotions is actually a cord. It's a cord, just like a neural pathway. It is a bioelectrical charge. Each one of those emotions is a bioelectrical charge that sits within your field, within your body. And the more you reinforce that bioelectrical thought, it's an etheric neuron, this etheric neuron, like a brain neuron that we have. It's an etheric neuron that you are reinforcing by the emotion. So this thought form of unworthiness becomes stronger and stronger. And the other sub emotions are different frequencies. Okay, so let me explain that to you. So every emotion has a frequency, remember. Okay, so, and the reason why you want to know this is because when you're sitting with yourself and beginning to feel an emotion, and also I had a very interesting comment that I want to answer because I thought it was super fitting to our conversation today. Every single emotion is a vibrational frequency, okay? The deeper and the lower the vibrational frequency of the emotion, the slower the movement of the wave. And the more contraction in the physical body. Okay, so as you can see just by looking at this heat map based on people feeling emotions, different parts of the body allocate that energy, that bioelectrical charge in the body. Okay, so these bioelectrical charges of emotions that hold within the body, as you can see, they affect more than one part of the body because because the emotion of shame for this person, for example, has many other underlying emotions, primary, secondary, tertiary emotions. And those 3 layers or 4 layers of emotions that the human can find underneath this one emotion of shame is connecting to multiple organs in the body and multiple chakras. Because again, the body is self-organized by vibrational frequency. Okay, so when we heal the body, in order for you to heal a thought form, you have to understand, acknowledge each one of those emotions. You have to acknowledge. That's why it's really important for you to sit with the emotion, and the acknowledgement of the emotion happens 2 things. It's not just the acknowledgement, it's the observation of emotion in your body. I had a question from someone that posted yesterday, and let me just read this really quickly, this question. Well, it wasn't so much of a question as it was a comment, but I thought it was extremely important because maybe others of you are also experiencing this this experience as well. Let me just find it. One moment. Let me just find this. Okay. Lauren says, or Hypnolutions says, Geraldine, there is something about these meditations that aren't sitting right with me. I'm always angry after the meditations. And I also always feel like I'm become incredibly people-pleasing after I do them. You have been a great support and mentor for a long time. However, this amount of shadow work and over-analyzing it just isn't good for my being. Maybe I don't need to be lucid all the time, especially if it's inauthentic and I'm overthinking logics. Okay. So in this one comment, there is so much here to unpack, and it's so important that we address it, because in here is the key that is very important when it comes to meditation. When I take you guys into running energy, what you're doing is you are working with your multidimensional body, which is full of your debris, and you're beginning to move and stir up. Okay? The life force, the green life force that you bring up from the center of the earth up into your body is operating at one vibrational frequency. Oh, hold on one second, guys. Okay? It's oscillating at one vibrational frequency. When this life force of the earth, which is operating at 8 hertz, begins to enter into the body, it begins to move, push out denser, lower emotional. For example, this emotion down here can be shame. Okay, so it's going to start to push it out. When we bring source light into the body, okay, source light into the body, what happens? We bring source light and we begin to mix green and gold in the body. What are we doing? These two frequencies, source is infinite potential. It's moving at a really high vibrational octave, really, really high. So you're combining the physical organism, which is a combination, is a fractal of infinite potential, and this terrestrial memory, the earth frequency. You are made up of both these frequencies. The human body becomes entangled in the matrix with its thoughts. The body becomes polluted with limiting belief systems, thoughts, emotions. And we are bringing pure form energy into the body to clear it out. So everything's going to come up for you. That's the whole point of the meditation. And you can do this organically in Vipassana just by sitting in absolute stillness. That stillness will become extremely uncomfortable for you the longer you sit, because it's going to start coming up. Okay, now this is the difference between knowing how to meditate properly and not meditating properly. There is a difference. And even though some people will tell me, oh, everybody has different techniques, well, that's true, except we have a certain architecture. And there are certain structures to your biology, and those are not different for everyone. Okay, the way that you hold your energy in your body can be different and unique from one person to the next, but your architecture, your core biology, your etheric biology is going to be the same for every human being, unless they're an alien being with an interdimensional capacity that moves in other dimensions. Their biology and their DNA, the amount of DNA that's activated in them, their geometry is going to be different. But the human body, if you're a human here on earth, we operate in a certain way, and energy is displays itself through certain patterns that are self-organizing within the body. So what happens when you sit in this stillness, we don't only want to feel the emotion. In order to meditate properly, if you go into your feeling and sensation body, so let's say anger starts coming up, okay? If you haven't learned how to process that anger, or it's a trauma emotion that has been you've been feeling it all your life subconsciously within your body, chances are you don't know how to process that emotion. If you've never learned. You also don't know what the opposite of that emotion feels like, looks like in the body. So we need to bridge the gap. And the only way to do that is by coming into a state of observer. We want to look at the human that is the source embodiment. Okay, the source embodiment of life force, not the one that is polluted with matrix programming. That one is the observer. And it's the 0 point, the observer in the 0 point, that will be the one to help you process these emotions, these strong emotions that are so hard to process. If you go into the feeling body, all you're doing is you're stuck in the sensation and the trauma of the emotion. And many of us are addicted to the emotion, so it feels comfortable. And we're used to suffering, we're used to crying, we're used to repeating the stories. If you're a kind of person that repeats your life trauma over and over and over again, you are stuck in the feeling body. You've never processed that emotion. It doesn't matter if you've been to shamans, you've been to healers. If you don't know how to process that emotion, I'm sorry, but you won't be able to move that out. Long term, it's in your subconscious mind, and it will always resurface when a trigger comes up again of a similar frequency. So what has to happen in the body is that you need to shift from the feeling body and sensation into an observer. And what that looks like, you will literally visualize that you're looking at yourself from the outside in, experiencing that emotion in your body. You're also going to, at the same time, notice how that emotion affects your physical body. So the anger, first of all, you notice, first of all, I have rapid breathing. My heart starts beating super fast. I start feeling hot, right? Remember the sensation body. You need to be there temporarily enough to understand what the emotion does in your body. Okay. Next thing you know, your stomach is contracting, right? Your hands, your fists begin to clench. Okay. So all of these side effects are, you have to know them and you have to observe what happens to you, because here's what's going to happen for those of you that are serious about this work. When you go back outside of your meditation into your everyday life and something starts to trigger anger in you, for you to be able to have mindfulness, to catch yourself and to know what's happening to you, you would have needed to sit down and understand yourself in that emotion. If you don't sit down with yourself to understand yourself in that emotion, it's gonna creep up on you, and you're gonna be unconscious and aware of it, and you're gonna react automatically and instinctively from the place of survival. So we are learning how to deprogram into a mindful awareness and reconnection with the body. And to reconnect the soul into the physical requires the mastery of the emotional body. You cannot integrate the soul into the physical unless you have mastered your emotions. The emotions are the key, because the emotions are the bioelectrical charge input into the hologram. Okay, so working on this emotion, feeling the emotion in the body, essentially, until what will happen after you observe all of those, you're going to learn about yourself and the feeling of anger. Then you're going to switch from sensing and feeling the sensations of anger in the body into beginning to observe what comes up underneath that anger. Okay, so underneath the anger is going to be it could be frustration, it could be loneliness, it could be shame, guilt, separation. Okay, and as you go deep in those layers, you're going to want to select the strongest of this list. Why? Because the strongest emotions that you catch in these primary, secondary, tertiary emotions, you are reading. Let's go back up to this guy. Hold on. You are reading the layers of this blockage. When you name out primary, secondary, tertiary emotions, you are reading the emotional data that's stored within this blockage in your field. And you want to choose the strongest one. It's going to guide you to understand. And here's the other interesting thing. Every layer that you go, the strongest emotion that comes up is going to show you how you got there to begin with. Okay, so let's say from this list, the strongest emotion is shame. Okay, you sit in shame, you sit present with shame, you begin to observe, same steps, you observe your body, what does it do with shame? Okay, and you begin to notice underneath shame is fear, so a severe fear of judgment. Now you're beginning to activate the memory of your trauma. This is what's inside of these cords, inside of the blockage that is blocking your field. Okay, right here. This is what's inside of these blockages. So as you begin to uncover why is healing the emotional body activation of DNA? Because the emotional body stores the memories of yourself, of contracted, trapped versions of yourself, not only in this lifetime, but many lifetimes, and you have access to all of that information through your multidimensional body. Okay, so let's say that at the root of this emotional trauma is the fear of judgment. So you're going to be taken back to a memory in childhood. You won't be able to access that memory otherwise. And this is really interesting. Another interesting thing that I'm going to mention to you when it comes to healing ancestral trauma. When you are a person that travels around, moves around, you the entire plane of existence is an activation of frequencies. We are moving in and out of frequencies. Okay? So what happens when we begin to travel or when we're driving down the street and all of a sudden you get a flash of a memory? You are passing, you have to look at the time of day. Okay, and you can turn this into a science. It doesn't really need to be a science, but I'm sharing with you the background of this so you can understand something, why it's important to be mindful. All of what I'm telling you right now is simply to tell you that being in the present moment is so important. Because when you're not in the present moment, the side effect is all of these layers that are encoded within you. And a lot of people have a hard time in meditation, they have a hard time processing these emotions. Okay, so really quickly, as these memories come up for you, most unconscious people will have the flash of the memory and then they're going to ignore it. But guess what? The time of day is processing information in one of your organs. Remember the Chinese clock, the clock of hours of the day, biological clocks. Okay, so you're going to look at the time of day, which one of your organs is processing emotional memory. It's also in alignment with what is being triggered for you in the past 24 hours or in the past week. And what you'll notice is that that flash of memory that came up for you is an opportunity for healing. If you take yourself back to that memory and sit with yourself, and sometimes you have to open up that memory. As you open up that memory through the emotional feeling body, you will access layers of emotions and trauma that you hadn't been aware of. And it can be a flash of a memory of one time when you went to San Diego. Okay, you're sitting in San Diego and you were sitting in the lobby of a hotel and all of a sudden you have this feeling of anxiety. What happened to you there? Oh, you felt abandoned by your friends. They just left you there. They weren't there, and you had all these things happening. Okay, perfect opportunity for opening a healing. So as you begin to uncover those layers of that abandonment, you're going to begin to remember, oh, I was feeling the exact same way that I felt yesterday. Now I remember. So the conscious human, the human that is navigating this physical realm as in a state of awareness, this is the shaman. You become the shaman of yourself. You understand the life force. You understand the activation of your memory. You understand the history and the healing of yourself that is available to you. Now, in this comment that was mentioned, that she, at the end of the meditation, ends up more angry and more people-pleasy. Well, two things happened here. If at the end of the meditation, you have a strong emotion in your body, you haven't processed the emotion during the meditation properly. And let me tell you something else, that if you start running energy and doing this meditation work and you leave halfway, which a lot of people do, get ready for a really chaotic day. You cannot leave emotions unfinished because you open up that frequency in your body, and what manifests is a direct result of the frequency that you have running in your body and in your subconscious mind. So another thing that happens, and I've seen this with my clients when they're just learning how to do this work, they're going to go back to really traumatic emotions and memories. And after sitting in a meditation and they begin to access a sorrow, a deep sorrow, the trauma that happened with mother or father, and they don't know what to do. It's so overwhelming that they can't put themselves into the observer. And that's okay. That's normal in the beginning, but we have to train ourselves to cultivate discipline into a state of observer. There are practices for that. I will share them with you. But how we process is that the person ends up with a flu or a cold, or aches and pains, or stomach flus. Okay, this happens because your emotions are not just etheric thought forms that don't have physical side effects. Emotions have very powerful side effects on the physical body. Again, as a creator, you have to understand the responsibility of your creation. You create these thought forms, and you forget that you are not your emotions. Emotions are meant to be absolutely temporary experiences of evolution for your awakening, for your awareness. They are tools of awareness. And emotions are meant to activate you in order for you to access your discernment and to access your ability to touch into free will. If you don't want to have free will, that's okay. You're going to keep cycling through all of the stored trauma that is within your DNA, within your biology, and in your organs, generation through generation, over and over again. Okay, and remember that what we are passing down, these ancestral lineages, is not just the evolution of yourself, it's the evolution of the entire human race. Because guess what? We are deeply interconnected. We are deeply interconnected. And what you are processing in your waking state is what you are processing in your dream state. Okay? So the more lucid you become in waking state, lucidity, it's not, I mean, it's a choice. You can choose to be lucid, but your level of awareness will dictate how you are navigating your everyday life. And you want to be lucid because the more lucid you are, the more aware you are of yourself, the more mindful you are, the less suffering you will experience. And either you create your life or you are created by life. Remember that. Either you are a co-creator or you are a parasite. And parasites always seek outside of themselves to fulfill something within them because they don't believe that they are self-governing and self-fulfilling. So there is no such thing as inauthentic lucidity. Being conscious and present cannot be fake. Okay, because if you are in a state of observer, you're either in observing or you're not. It's one or the other. Okay, and our process of looking at the emotions is not from the logical mind. It's not from the logical mind. You are using your intuitive mind, connecting and activating your emotional body, which is physical. Okay, and the kind of questions that we're asking, for example, is it true, is to wake up consciousness and snap you out of the old programs of suffering in which you exist. Our pursuit is truth, our pursuit is healing. So these are the things that we have to understand. So I'm really grateful for that. Hypnolution, thank you so much for bringing that up. And I hope that this brings a little light and clarity to that topic. I'm going to talk about running energy more in depth soon. So let's talk about this ancestral trauma. We are dissolving these thought forms in the body so that we can begin to open the runways. And literally, your DNA begins to express itself in its full expression, in its full, healthiest expression. This is extremely important because as you activate your DNA, your nervous system comes into regulation and you begin to operate in a centripetal spin. A creator spin, centripetal spin, implosion from the heart center. You alchemize all trauma, all separation into unconditional love, through unconditional love. That's the point of the review of the emotions. If you are not alchemizing your fear into love in your emotions, in your meditations, through the accessing this information. So, and what do I mean? Is it just you feeling one moment fear, next moment love? No, no. What it is you are learning how to embody unity consciousness through yourself by broadening your perspective, by putting yourself in the shoe of the other and learning compassion. you learn compassion. You train yourself to feel compassion for yourself, and you train yourself to feel compassion for others, even those that cause suffering. This is the road to unconditional love, and it's an entire way of being that requires a deep understanding of compassion towards yourself and the maturity to understand when you are embodying compassion and when you are running away from emotions. Okay, now embodying compassion when you're looking at these difficult experiences and transmuting them, after you take a look at the set of negative emotions that have come up, you need to create a set of positive emotions. So in the example that I gave earlier about unworthiness through the heart, the first gentleman here that we had the example of the heart. How does he alchemize this program within his body? Okay. So what would be, so his fear was fear of rejection, fear of judgment. So the question that he would ask would be, well, what does he need in order to no longer be fearful of judgment? Okay, and the answer would be, and this goes really deep. This can go very deep, and I can give you a million examples of the people that I work with, but the individual might say, well, I need to be able to accept myself. Okay, so what do you need in order to accept yourself? I need to, guess what? Not judge myself. Okay, because guess what happens? And this is very interesting. I'm going to do an entire presentation on just this, about the intricacies of emotional layers. What we run away from and what we hate, we actually become. Okay, so we run away and we hide from the extreme difficultness of a judgment of another, but guess what? We turn into judgmental people, because in order to not be judged, we have to exist in a constant state of judgment, because we believe we take on, by vibrational resonance, the program of the judger that originally imposed this belief system on us, that triggered that feeling within us. There is, and I talked about this a couple days ago, the neural pathway, the cord that is built between yourself and the other person. Let's say this is mom in this case, okay? Just as an example. Let's say mom was extremely judgmental. Everything had to be perfect. Remember the tiger moms that they talk about, that want everything perfect, have to succeed. And the emotions that are felt by the mother are picked up by the child. They are absorbed through the entire multidimensional body. This is a program. When you absorb emotions from your surroundings, they are thought forms that then develop into programs, especially from the ages of the womb to the age of 7. And essentially, because your consciousness is so deeply connected to infinite potential, and you are in that state of innocence and exploration, you take on this belief system as yours. You don't know the difference between yourself and the other, and where you begin and where they end. And the trauma that it causes within you, with your inability to process a reaction, makes you take on that belief system as an informant for how you will respond. And so the vibrational frequency of judgment that mother was holding on to, that's a frequency pattern that you take on in the body. And so you begin to hold judgment within yourself, because you learn that if you are judgmental, you will avoid the judgment from mother. So this program that is stored within the body is affecting the heart, the solar plexus, the sexual body, for example. Everything becomes contracted or overly expansive, depending on the survival program that the person holds within them. And again, they are spinning their vortex in a centrifugal state of being instead of centripetal. So in order to alchemize this emotion, we need to get to the root of the emotion by primary, secondary, tertiary emotion. And as we get to the root, what would be the opposite? So Now, we've only known judgment in our lives since we were, let's say, 2 years old. The opposite of judgment would be acceptance. Mom didn't know acceptance, dad didn't know acceptance, and trust me, you can run down the ancestral lineage. This is an ancestral trauma passed down generations. Nobody knew what it felt like to be fully accepted and loved unconditionally. So here you are, the star seed that incarnates at a higher octave, that has a choice to begin to break that pattern. And you break the pattern by acquainting yourself with acceptance. Okay? You're going to feel the acceptance in your body. The moment you start to feel the acceptance in your body, and for many of you, this will be really uncomfortable because you're not going to recognize the emotion. But as you begin to feel acceptance in your body, all of those things that you don't accept about yourself are going to come up. This is where we start to practice self-love training 101. You're going to need to do mirror work. You're going to need to connect with all the shadows of yourself that you judge, and you're going to have to love them and accept them unconditionally. Accepting your shadow unconditionally doesn't mean that you're going to exist in that shadow and play out that shadow. It means that you're going to accept it so that you can allow the alchemization of that to develop. So if you can accept your judgment, you begin to accept, and it shifts the way that you perceive judgment. You now become more accepting towards yourself, whereby you become more accepting towards others. This changes your frequency into another octave completely. And as you cultivate and strengthen the neural pathway of this belief system inside of yourself over time, these blockages that you have within you will dissolve completely, and they will no longer be references where you keep going back to. So the aches, pains, and sometimes even diseases in the body heal. Okay? This is internal work that has to be done diligently with yourself in order to heal, to transform. And this is the alchemization of ancestral trauma, because what happens genetically, so let's talk about this, because the chakras are a holographic projection of your DNA organized by vibrational frequency. Every single cell in your body holds the history of the universe. Within each one of these chakra systems are portal ways connecting to those encoded information from your chakra, from your DNA to the chakra body that is at that vibrational frequency. Okay, so as you begin to remove these blockages out of your body, you're going to begin to, I wonder if I can, erase. There we go. So as you begin to clear this out, the chakra will come back into its expansive state. Guess what? Even your DNA is going to go back into your expanded state. Okay, your DNA will begin to come back into a more expression. The coiling will come out of that knot into an expression. This is scientifically proven and measured. Actually, the HeartMath Institute has done this research on the contraction and expansion of DNA based on trauma, ancestral trauma. So what we are doing is we are creating healthier DNA, which means healthier full expression of your physical biology, your protein writing biology, and then your greater holographic system. Okay, and we want to do this at the time throughout our entire lives, because at the time of death, if you are operating in this beautiful, expansive, if all your chakras are expanded, and this is essentially what the rainbow body looks like, when all of your chakras are equally cleared, maintained in a state of harmony, balanced, the polarities within each one of these chakras are balanced. There is harmony in the body. There is symmetry. Everything changes in your body. Even the face changes, the health changes, the way energy, your success changes, your manifestation. begins to change. Your relationships will shift. You are operating by resonance, intuitively navigating the earth in a way that's in aligned with the highest purpose of the collective, not just your own self-serving parasitic self, into a state of co-creation. Now, I'm just going to add one last part, and then we're going to get into the meditation, that the cultivation of our sexual energy is also extremely important, because one of the biggest traumas for the human race is sex. It's how we've been enslaved deeply by maintaining our sexual power. Our life force, sexual energy, is the most primordial life force that the human has. And when you maintain that in the shadows through religion, social engineering, through social constructs, even politics, okay, those belief systems really suppress the full empowerment of creation of humanity. And because the kind of souls that we incarnate into the earth are only halfway activated each time, each generation, and the movement of evolution of human race is slowed down in its progression because of this. Because when a human doesn't know how to manifest and create, cultivating its sexual energy into the spiritual energy, the human cannot activate its higher faculties of discernment, where it wakes a consciousness away from these hypnosis and parasitic systems that feed off your life force. And so the human can become sovereign and come into its highest empowerment by learning how to cultivate these energy centers and coming into its highest power. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there, and let's start the meditation. Thank you so much for your questions. Let me see if I have any questions here. Thank you so much. Please put your questions in capital letters, and I'll be really happy to answer them. Hello, Kufunia. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy you're here as well. Let me see what other questions we have here. Celia, welcome. I really need to know these. That's awesome. Just Michael, stay up. Yes, Lucid World. Love from Hungary. So wonderful to see you. Welcome, Hungary. Grandizer, great to see you. Venusian. Charles, great to see you. Wonderful to see you. Paula, so much love. The timing of this is spot on. I just had an interaction with someone at work who's negative and highly judgmental, and I have spent the rest of the day in that energy. I cleansed my energy. I absolutely do not want to go through that again. Yes, excellent. That awareness will break those patterns. What we are doing at this time, and all of you are doing on this planet Earth right now, you are breaking ancestral trauma. The pool of collective trauma that we are inheriting from many generations is cleaning up. Okay, we are not talking, and this is the misconception of what it means to, unfortunately, through history, it's been misconstrued, the understanding of pure bloodlines. Okay, so your DNA is the currency of the universe. It's the currency of the past, the present, and the future. And it is the currency of the intergalactically, interdimensionally. Because within your DNA, you hold the gold, the transmutation power. And it is a portal to all of these solar systems of consciousness. So you are so incredibly valuable. The human race is valuable. This experience as a human, temporary experience as a human, is extremely valuable, because as we begin to clear up the ancestral trauma that has been passed down through generations, we are bringing the entire collective into a higher octave. Okay, and that's really huge. And the work that you're doing is being passed down. The way that you have children is also changing. Okay, let's get into the meditation. Go ahead and come into a state of complete relaxation. Come into absolute stillness. I want you to ground yourself down to the center of the earth. Go ahead and connect to the center of the earth. I want you to create a bubble around your body. Go ahead and focus on the root chakra at the base of the spine. Go up to the sacral, shrink your sacral chakra down to the size of a dime. Go up into the solar plexus. Go ahead and shrink your chakra down to the size of a dime. Go up into the heart. Go ahead and expand your heart chakra, opening front and back. Go up into the throat, expanding the throat chakra. Go up into the third eye and expand the third eye. Go up into your crown. Go ahead and expand your crown. You're going to pull up from the center of the earth a powerful wave of green life force that comes rushing up as you bring earth energy into your body. Go ahead and rotate that around your body. Bring source energy down, cosmic energy down to the crown of your head, combining with the earth energy. And take 10% back down to the center of the earth. Go ahead and eliminate all the debris that you picked up in your field. Imagine that you are clearing the 13 dimensional layers of your body. Come into absolute stillness. Relaxing all the muscles in the body. You're going to take 80% of this combination, send it up your spine and from the crown of your head, coating the outside of your bubble. Go ahead and call back your life force from people, places, and things that no longer serve you. Gather your energy back into your body. Bring yourself fully into the present moment. Feel your entire body being absolutely present in this moment. Become aware of your body 360 degrees all around. You're going to take that final 10%, bring it into the body now, green and gold, absorbing into the pores, the flesh, the muscles, the bone, down to the cellular level. Healing the body, nourishing the body, restoring the body. accepting the body, forgiving the body. Bring yourself into your core center as you run the energy through the 3 dimensions of the body. So let's begin to observe our body and allow whatever needs to come up to come up. Notice the emotion that comes up the most in this present moment. Sometimes it'll take a minute for you to be able to identify the emotions because you only know them as sensations in your body. So I want you to describe the sensations in your body as emotions. Allow yourself to acknowledge those emotions. Go ahead and observe the strongest of these emotions. As you are absolutely present observing this emotion, name out the emotions that come up. As you sit with this emotion, allow yourself to notice the strongest of these emotions. As you tune into the strongest of these emotions, let's go a bit deeper to the next layer. Observe the emotion in your body and name out the second layer of emotions. As you allow yourself to acknowledge the strongest of these emotions, once again, come into a state of observation. Be absolutely present with the emotion that comes up. As you allow yourself to sit with that emotion, again, you're going to choose the strongest of these emotions. And I want you to notice the parts of your body that tense up as you feel these emotions, as you acknowledge them. You will learn a lot about yourself. And as you take your attention to the parts of your body that are tensing up or signaling these emotions, it helps you understand a lot about what you need, a lot about what you don't want anymore. So just observe. I want you to begin to observe now the memories that come up. Ask yourself, how familiar are you with this emotion? And if you notice that you're actually very familiar, chances are you've been experiencing this emotion many times throughout your life. Perhaps always. It's always been there in the very back of your mind, underneath everything that you do, everything you say. That's a very powerful observation to make. Just observe how long you've been feeling this emotion. And I want you to take yourself back to the very first time that you experienced this emotion in your life. Take yourself there. As you begin to open up this memory, take a look at yourself. I want you to shift your attention to yourself in this memory. What were you feeling in that moment? Go ahead and name out the emotions. As you feel this emotion in your body, come into your observer once again. Name it out. Now, sometimes it might be really helpful for you to have a notebook next to you. Um, with practice, I can feel the emotions and remember and keep a record of them, but sometimes it might be difficult for you to do that in the beginning. So feel free to have a notebook with you on your side so that you can work with it if you need to, okay? And you can jot down these emotions in layers. This is what we do in DNA reprogramming. Let me just put this over here so I can. Okay. So as you begin to observe yourself in that moment, okay, what is it that you needed? Just observe. What do you need in that moment? If you could give this little child anything, this little part of you, anything that it needed the most in that moment, what would it be? Just observe. It's extremely important to understand this because it helps you understand how to process this same trigger next time. This is why we're asking this question. So you can educate yourself on how you would process this emotion the next time it is triggered. And most likely, now this is the difficult part that people have really hard time, what you are requesting from the other in this moment. Usually it's what we require from ourselves in order to end that pattern today in our life now. Because chances are the emotion that we're feeling is causing us to behave in certain ways, to perceive things in certain ways. And so as you access this memory and you acknowledge what is needed, you begin to notice how you can transmute this everyday behavior that is a result of this underlying emotion in your subconscious mind. Okay, so allow yourself to observe carefully. And don't hesitate in asking what it is you need. This is helping you acknowledge your needs, and also I'm going to show you how to meet them. Okay, so now you have a list of things that you need. I want you to look back at yourself now. Once again, we're going to redirect the attention to yourself, and I want you to ask yourself, what is it that you need in that moment from yourself in order to be able to process what is happening to you in that moment? If you could ask for anything, what would you need from yourself in order to be able to process that experience? You might be very surprised what you find. Okay. Okay, so if you get up from your meditation right now and interrupt this work, it will be very difficult for you to close this emotion that you opened up. This work that we just did, you opened that emotion way up. Okay, so many of you come to this point and then you get restless or you don't want to sit anymore. You walk and you interrupt. This is a very big mistake. Okay, and sometimes we can develop colds or flus because remember, you're opening up energy in your body. So again, energy doesn't just evaporate, it stays in your body, and you are the conscious director of that life force. So you have to learn how to transmute it and you have to learn how to alchemize. Okay. So as you begin to observe what you're needed, now you have two lists of what you needed from the external and what you need from yourself. We're going to redirect the attention once again to yourself. The question that you're asking now, what do you need in order to provide yourself with all of these things that you've listed out? You're going to meet those needs from yourself towards yourself. Let's say one of the things on the list was compassion. You needed compassion from the other. You needed the other person to be more connected to themselves so that they could be intuitive and more mindful, more gentle, more connected. Okay? So, what do you need from yourself? Because what you'll discover is that you are repeating the pattern. Again, remember what I explained. The vibrational imprint of the trauma that occurred is that you take on the program in your body as yourself and you become the repeater of that. And you exist in that energy all your life, resisting it and not knowing how to process it, not knowing how to support the opposite of that. So, healing is acknowledging, alchemizing, and embodying. This is the actual alchemization process of a trauma. Okay. And as you embody that in your body, as you acknowledge those emotions in your body, you can really heal and transform long-term programs, very long-term programs into healing. Okay. So allow yourself to begin to list out the things that your little inner child needs from themselves, towards themselves, in order to be able to meet these needs. This is where you are looking at one neural pathway. All of these lists of emotions are neural pathways that you're strengthening every time you feel them over and over again. What you're doing here is you're creating a new neural pathway. You are building a bridge to a new neural pathway. And what you're going to do by making a list of what you needed, you're going to learn how to reinforce this new program. Okay. So the new emotion, for example, in this example of you needed your mother or whoever it was to be more connected, more intuitive and connected to themselves. They needed mindfulness. They needed to be connected to themselves. They needed to know themselves. And they required that emotional mastery. Okay. So what do you need from yourself in order to know yourself? Okay. Well, I need stillness. I need space. I need compassion. I need discipline. And I would need self-love. Okay. So right there is your formula, your transmutation formula. So as you begin to, now here's the next step that's extremely important. You cannot miss this. Okay. Now that you have this list, you're going to feel each one of these in your body. You're going to feel them because through the feeling body is the reconnection of the neural pathway. The feelings and the emotions are the charge, the bioelectrical charge that either reinforce something. Okay. So we're going to reinforce a new program now. And this is how you reprogram your body. So as you begin to feel, let's start with the first one of compassion towards the self. Okay, you're going to sit there and you're going to feel compassion in your body. So go ahead and fill your body with exactly what it is you needed, you discovered, you require from yourself. So go ahead and bring your body into absolute presence, connect with every single organ, connect with your body 360, and embody that. In this example, compassion for you can be something different. Okay, so I'm going to embody that compassion and As I'm feeling the compassion in the body, I begin to notice parts of my body expanding. I begin to feel more calm, more relaxed. I'm going to observe all of those physical movements, just like you did with the trauma, because this is memory that you're activating. Okay, and as you feel this new emotion in the body, I want you to come into observation. Okay, feeling and then observer, always. So as you're in the observer, take a look and see now what emotions come up for you when you feel this compassion in this example. Okay, so let's say I'm sitting with the feeling of compassion, and all of a sudden I begin to feel uh, many things: trust, safety, peace. Okay, okay, so go ahead and take a look at the strongest of those. Let's say it's peace. As you embody peace, I want you to fill your entire body with the feeling of peace. Okay. When you are in a state of peace, you begin to feel joy, harmony. Okay, now you can be more creative. Okay, so do you see the formula? You see what you're programming in your body? Okay, so now you're going to embody creativity. When you're a creative, you begin to feel love. You begin to feel a bliss state. Okay, and now you have reconnected your body through your nervous system, through your biology, to source, through your vibrational frequency. Okay, because as you go down these emotions, you're going to raise your vibrational frequency to the highest octave, which is source, which is that bliss state of joy, of harmony, bliss. Okay, that is source. So this is actually how you heal ancestral trauma. And what you're going to be doing is repeating that pattern. So allow yourself to embody whatever it is that you have discovered into its most highest octave that you can reach. And a tool that I'm going to share with you is to turn that highest octave emotion into a frequency color. Okay? So let's say this state of bliss, this state of harmony, this state of peace, the color that comes to mind is lavender. So I'm going to fill my entire bubble of my body with lavender. I'm going to absorb lavender color into the pores, the flesh, the muscles, the bones, down to the cellular level, healing my body. And there's massive transformation that occurs as a result of this healing, because you are essentially using pranic healing techniques to heal your body. That lavender color is encoded with this formula, your formula. Okay, so as you allow your body to absorb that into the body now, I want you to look at all of the fractals of yourself that have experienced this same lack in their life, and I want you to fill them with the lavender color. You are introducing to them the strengthening of a new neural pathway. The longer you sit in feeling this body, feeling these emotions, the more you are strengthening a new neural pathway. But you have to feel the opposite emotion in your body. That's how you deprogram and reprogram the healing. Okay? And educate yourself on how to actually reach that state, which is the most important. So as you allow yourself to fill all of your fractals, just watch them transforming. Notice how each scenario, individual fractal from their own scenario and timeline, begins to shift their perspective in that designated experience. And now the heaviness of the trauma begins to alleviate. And you are now becoming a master of yourself in each one of these timelines. So you're going to merge them all into one. Notice this integrated self, what's different with them, observe. And you can use this in your current scenario, this part of you. Put her into the video of the event that happened 2 days ago, the trauma that triggered 2 days ago. How would she respond differently this time, now that she's informed with these new tools? Okay, so just observe and watch for a moment. And as you begin to observe, you are learning about yourself, learning about how to express, how to be. You're going to integrate that into yourself. Inhale deeply. I want you to see all of your ancestors that have relived this experience down the generations. Okay, you're going to see whoever's bloodline this program has passed down, you're going to see them. Go ahead and allow yourself to intuit your ancestors that have also existed in this energy. And I want you to infuse them with this new formula, with this new color. I want you to inhale deeply, taking back your life force. You're going to take a look at that cord in your body. Remember the cord that was created. Okay, so take a look at your body. What does that cord look like? What part, what organ or what part of your body is it connected to? Okay, inhale deeply and release as you begin to pull that cord out of your body. You can visualize a vortex of violet light directly in front of you, or hopefully outside of your house or the window, your closest window to the room that you're in. So that, remember, energy is very sticky, especially this traumatic energy can stick and get stuck on things around you. Okay, so just visualize that you are clearing it out into that vortex of violet light out of your body, and you're going to bring source light into your body and infuse every part of your body that is being cleared with this source cosmic energy. Bring it in there. You're bringing that infinite potential into your body. You're reconnecting with your higher self. You're reconnecting with yourself is what you're doing. So bring all your attention back towards yourself and notice the emotions that begin to emerge in this state. Usually these are bliss states, emotions of unconditional love, feelings of peace and harmony. Okay, this is where you exist. This is your natural innate state. Allow yourself to get very comfortable with this. Okay, so go ahead and infuse your body with that light. You're going to notice that your auric field or the layers of your chakra begin to heal. Okay, wherever you took that cord out of, that hole that was in your aura is healing. It's becoming smaller. Okay, all right, so allow yourself to fill your body with light. You're going to go to the root chakra. Now this is where you start to clear out the programs from the root, and you can spend a lot of time here, but go ahead and open the root, the sacral, the solar. You can spin those and bring source light into clearing those programs from each one of those chakras. Because again, each one of the chakras is embedded with different layers of these emotions. Okay, so clear them out. Go up into your heart, your throat, your third eye. Go up into your crown. Take a look at what color do you have here? Has it changed? Go ahead and fill that color into the area of your career, abundance, love, consciousness, joy, harmony, success, health, vitality, co-creation, and abundance. Okay, go ahead and illuminate that crown. You're going to shine it on top of all of your karmic contracts. Go ahead and dissolve those karmic contracts out. Okay. Pull out whatever else is in your field that needs to be cleared out. Your body should feel very light and fluid, and your emotions should be pretty high and neutral as possible. Excellent. Allow yourself to activate the 9th, activate the 10th, activate the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, 14th, the 15th, the 16th, the 17th, the 18th, the 19th, the 20th, 21, 22, 23, and 24. And above you is a powerful white light of source connected to that source. Allow that source to come down into your crown, down through the perineum, down to the center of the earth. Anchor yourself into the center core of the planet. Visualize the sphere around your body completely solid and intact. Your chakras in perfect alignment. Go ahead and activate the chakra between the heart and the solar plexus, creating a pillar of white light into the front and back of your body, around the parameter of the earth. Breathe deeply and exhale, bring yourself back into the body. Awesome. You guys did an amazing job. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, it's such an honor. And let me just check really quickly if you have any questions. Make sure to put your questions in the capital letters. I appreciate all of you so much for being here. Christine, opening the chakra meditation every day. Opening the chakra yes, yes. So it's important that when you're doing this exercise that you are consistent and you don't stop, because the kind of meditation that we're doing is an acceleration of your ascension. Okay, these are not common techniques. These are very powerful techniques. Okay, and so you're working with your energetic body. So once you start clearing out your body, there's going to be a side effect. Things are going to start shifting and changing. You have to be ready for that change. You have to allow that change. Be in the state of cycle of life and death, allowing things to die that need to die, allowing things that need to emerge. And the more consistent you are with this, the more healthy and harmonious your life will become. Okay. And also, I'll share with you, but anytime you start to feel sick or out of alignment, remember those karmic contracts are the agreements for suffering that you're cycling from all your generations. So healing ancestral trauma is about these emotions and about breaking those ancestral programs. And that's what we're doing when we break those contracts. You want to do it every single day. And don't miss a day. Trust me, when you miss a day, you will know, because things will happen, accidents, not feeling so great, traumas, problems, chaos. Okay, so make sure you're running energy, because it will absolutely affect your co-creation. Okay. All right, everybody. It was such an honor to be here. Thank you so much. I love you, and I hope you have an incredible weekend. Oh, I do have to tell you, tomorrow I'm going to be presenting on Portal to Ascension, and I have been invited onto, oh, I'm sorry, I think it will be live stream on Portal to Ascension. I think, please don't quote me on that. Hold on, let me just open up this event to share with you. You can register on my website. And let me just take a look at that really quickly, so you guys can get the details of that really briefly. And just share that with you. Global Peace Tribe. And the event is called Making Contact, Opening Up to Our Galactic Family. We're going to talk about connecting with interdimensionality and why it's important right now. How it's used for healing, for ascension, transmutation. And yeah, it's an honor to be there. I'm going to be with Scott Catamans, who is the host, co-host Alan Steinfeld, a dear friend of mine. Happy birthday, Alan. Catherine, John, Serena, Roderick Martin, Douglas Taylor, Kathleen Covey, Eden Adamora, and Omashar, who's incredible musician. So definitely check that out tomorrow. And I will be also co-hosting, helping host a Feng Shui event for the beginning of period 9. If any of you are familiar with Feng Shui and energy healing arts, we are entering into the year of the wooden dragon, 2024. And with that comes complete major shift of global energies, cosmic energies. Everything is changing. And it unleashes this unprecedented change in the world. So my dear, dear friend Kathleen Zemansky, who is a Feng Shui master, is teaching this course on how to prepare yourself through your house and your business and your livelihood, in order to prepare for these changes based on your sign, based on your astrology, essentially, your Chinese astrology, and primarily the energy centers that exist within your body. So if you want to join me for that event, it's on Sunday. It's a really early event. I think it starts at 6 a.m. PST. And that's January the 28th. And let me go ahead and put that into the chat if you guys want to register. It's such an awesome event. Definitely check it out and register. And yeah, I'm really happy to see you guys there. And of course, there's other really cool events coming up that you can also check out in the coming days. So thank you so much. Love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.